Alberta's Minister of Indigenous Relations has been in BC this week, keeping conversations going as the province tries to win support for its bitumen pipeline pitch. Even with Ottawa and Alberta on the same page in a memorandum of understanding, actually finding private money for a pipeline and building it remains significant hurdles. It's a process Ian Anderson knows well. He's the former president of Kinder Morgan Canada and Trans Mountain Corp, which runs the Trans Mountain Pipeline. When I called this a how-to on getting a pipeline built from Alberta to BC, you gave me a bit of a look. Is this bringing back some memories?
It is, certainly, and the how-to has a lot of chapters to it, and it's a long book.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, we won't get through it all in the next 8 minutes, but let's take a stab at it. I mean, based on what you've seen with this MOU, you know, what's your general reflection? But also, is this enough to start moving private sector interest?
Yeah, I think it is a magnificent platform and a great place to start. As you know, within the MOUs, there are a lot of pieces that there's the pipeline, there's the pathway support, there's carbon pricing, there's electricity regs, there's nuclear and a plan for nuclear. So there's lots of pieces to the puzzle I think need to be put together. I think it's a great place to start. There's lots of hard work. Is it going to immediately attract new, private capital to invest in projects like a pipeline? Not quite yet. There's work to be done. And if I think about the major things that a project proponent would be looking to have satisfied before even considering investment is they have to see that the risks are manageable, that the regulatory processes have become more efficient, more predictable, more transparent, less redundant. And they can hopefully see some of that through the projects that have been referred to the major project office and what work they're going to do to streamline regulation. The other thing, of course, that any project like a pipeline needs is commercial support. They need barrels to go in it. They need producers to have the barrels to commit to underpin it. And, as you mentioned, solving for a route between Alberta and the coast is not a simple matter, and there has to be a lot of work put in on the ground to understand the issues and the concerns of British Columbians and particularly the coastal First Nations, and finding a way to come to some kind of cooperation to enable it to happen. But that's going to take time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's dig into that last part of it. We were chatting a little bit off mic. I mean, First Nations consultation, some form of it is happening now. We're scant on details, but we know there's ministers over there. The Assembly of First Nations has said this week, zero support for this at the moment. Coastal First Nations, as you point out, say this pipeline will never happen. I mean, I want to get to what the view from sort of private capital, from investor confidence, but from your experience working with various communities, Indigenous leaders across the span or the route of a project. What do you see in that resistance? Yeah, I mean, we learned a lot on Trans Mountain, and of course, when we started the project back in 2010, we met with the same kind of resistance. There was a lot of skepticism. There was fears. There was fears about what a pipeline would mean to a community, how it could, harm, their history, their culture, their traditions, if anything went wrong. So we started in a similar place, and what it takes, I believe, to move forward is you start your work on the ground to understand what the issues and concerns are, what the history of the people are, what their presence on the land means, what elements of that tradition, history, and culture are they afraid of losing, as if there was some event or incident, and that's where you need to start, because it's only then that you really learn what their perspective is on why the resistance is so strong. So I think we need to spend time on the ground to understand those things more deeply and take them deeper into our project planning and our approach. And only then can you start to put in place mitigating measures and monitoring and risk management tools and techniques and plans. But it's got to start with some real respectful and trustful communications. Yeah. So, okay, that's important, and I really appreciate you reflecting on that. I expect you learned a thing or two at in
To
those
learn a
stages
tremendous
of the
amount, and in
relationship?
fact, Trans Mountain was a better project at the end of the day because of the things we learned and the
so?
things we did. We routed differently. We had more Indigenous monitors on site all the time. We recovered thousands of artifacts that we repatriated into communities that would have just been, trenched over. But we've spent more time on the ground with communities. I remember a chief once telling me, Ian, we can't understand what a pipeline means to our community until you walk the land with me. So we walked the land to understand the route, the impact to the community, what they were striving to protect. And I think those lessons need to continue to be learned, and in this project specifically.
So when you're in your role and you're walking the land and you're working on the relationship as you do, how do you work on the other side on investor confidence or whatever it might be?
Well, it's part of building investor confidence that the trust and respect that we can get through this. And we built 64 support agreements on Trans Mountain over a period of 10 years, and so it took a long time to build that support and confidence. And it gave us an opportunity to give back to those communities through the project execution. But it took a long time, and you have to be patient, and you have to be honest and genuine about it, and learn and listen and go in with a white sheet of paper versus a baked plan.
Right. So when people say, okay, we've got a summer deadline for this or that, I mean, is that laughable to you? I mean, I don't want
No, not at all. I think they're all the necessary steps of building out. What's the plan? What's the approach going to be? What's the route that should be considered? Is it Prince Rupert? Is it Kitimat? Is it back to Vancouver?
Yeah.
Which could be an alternative. And then you start to appreciate and understand who the people are that are affected, and then you go to those people and you start to understand what their perspectives are. Yeah. So it's all I think possible, but there's a lot of work to be done.
We're trying to distill big books down into a short chat here as the radio affords. But so here's another book question. Okay. Take us inside the room and to the decision for Kinder Morgan to say, we're not going to get this to the finish line, and it's the feds can buy it.
Yeah, that was a room I was in a few times, and it was quite tense. And Kinder Morgan got to the point where they didn't trust or have confidence that the project could be completed. We had started work. We were about $1 billion in at that point. And we'd started our work. We'd started some modest construction down on the dock in Burnaby. But with the political resistance, some of the First Nation resistance, the court cases that were pending, the regulatory efforts we had to continue to make to do our work, they lost confidence. And that investor confidence evaporated very, very quickly. And they were ready to pull the pin. And I convinced them this project was too important for the country. We had to somehow find a way to get it built. We went to the market. We talked to all potential investors and other strategic companies, all the private equity around the world. And we ended up in Ottawa talking to Bill Morneau. And he shared the vision that I had. And he marshaled it through, the federal family to acquire the company and ultimately, oversee its construction.
Yeah. Lightning round. I'm going to give you 10 seconds on this. Oil this morning is like $58 or $59 a barrel. Not good for the economics of a project like this. What does the oil price do for the view on a pipeline?
I think it's a temporary thing. These are long-lived assets. These are 20-year commitments that producers are making, and oil's going to go up and down based on geopolitical and markets. So they'll take a long-term view.